My daughter gave her imaginary friend a name I had never heard in my life, so I looked it up. It's an ancient Germanic name hundreds of years old. My daughter is 8, she has never seen that name anywhere. And I have no explanation for how she knew it. Okay, I need to tell you something, and I need you to stay with me through the whole thing because I know how this starts and I know what you are going to think. You are going to think what I thought. You are going to tell yourself it is fine, that it is normal, that kids do this all the time. I told myself that for months my name does not matter. What matters is that I am a single father and I have an 8-year-old daughter. I call her Lyanna here because she deserves her privacy, and honestly because saying her real name in the middle of all of this still does something to my chest. It is early 2020. You remember what the world looked like then, everything shutting down, streets empty, people locked inside their homes not knowing when any of it would end. I had just moved us into a new house in northern Germany, close to my parents, trying to build something stable for us in the middle of all that chaos. A garden, a quiet street. Trees behind the house that Lyanna thought were beautiful. She settled in fast the way kids do. I was proud of her. She has always been creative, always been the kind of child who turns cardboard boxes into castles and invents entire civilizations before dinner. So when she told me maybe 3 weeks after we moved in that she had a new friend, I smiled. I asked what his name was. She said she would tell me later. I thought that was cute. I thought a lot of things in the beginning that I now understand differently. The mentions kept coming. Not every day, not even every other day, just often enough that I started to keep a kind of unconscious tally. She would say things in passing. He came again last night, he likes the color blue. He knows Magic Papa, real magic. And I would nod and ask a follow-up question and she would smile like she had a whole private world I was lucky to get a glimpse of. And part of me loved that she had that. I know how it sounds now. But you have to understand lockdown was hard on her. Her real friends were gone. My parents, who she adores, were not coming over anymore. She was spending her days entirely with me and I was giving her everything I had, but I was also working from home and exhausted and worried about the same things every parent was worried about in 2020. So when I saw her happy, genuinely happy, talking about this friend with that light in her eyes, I did not want to question it too hard. I rearranged my work schedule. Started getting up before sunrise to finish everything so I could give her the rest of the day completely. Board games, cooking, walks, movies on the sofa with blankets. She loved it. She was bright and warm and laughing every day. And she still talked about him. Every day she still talked about him. That is when the feeling started, not fear, not yet. Just a low hum in the back of my head that I could not explain and did not want to look at too directly. Like a sound you are not sure you are actually hearing. I kept telling myself it was normal. One of my closest friends had a son the same age who had an imaginary friend for almost a year. Kids do this. Especially only children, especially during lockdown. I had read the articles, I knew psychology, I was being a rational adult. And then came the night I woke up at 3 a.m. No alarm, no sound. I just opened my eyes in the dark and I was completely awake, which almost never happens to me. I am a heavy sleeper. I always have been. But that night I sat up like something had called my name and I lay there for a moment with this feeling I cannot properly describe. Like the air in the room had a texture to it that it shouldn't have, like something was slightly wrong with the silence. I got up. I went down the hall to check on Lyanna. She was in her bed, sleeping. Her blanket was arranged a little differently from how I had left it at bedtime, but kids move around. I stood there watching her breathe for a moment longer than necessary and then I turned to leave. And I saw it, in the window in her room that looks out toward the tree line behind our house. A figure. I did not move. I did not make a sound. I just stood there and I stared at it and I counted the seconds in my head because I wanted to be sure. I wanted to give my own brain every opportunity to explain it away. A reflection, a branch, my own exhausted mind manufacturing shapes in the dark. I stared at it for 2 full minutes. And then it was gone, not walking away, not stepping back, just gone, the way something disappears when you are looking too directly at it. I went back to bed. I lay on my back with my eyes open until morning. I did not tell Lyanna what I saw. I needed to think. I needed to be careful. So the next morning, while she was eating breakfast, I asked her, as casually as I could, if she would draw me a picture of her friend. I said I wanted to know what he looked like. She lit up. She grabbed her paper and her pencils and she disappeared to her room, and 20 minutes later she came back and handed me the drawing. I am not going to describe it in detail because some part of me still cannot find the right words. I will say that I looked at it and my stomach dropped. I sent it to my mother. I sent it to the group chat I have with other single fathers online. And every single person who saw it said the same thing without any coordination between them. They said it was scary as hell. These are parents. Adults who look at children's drawings constantly. They know what a child inventing something looks like. None of them could look at that drawing and see a child inventing something. I sat down with Lyanna that afternoon and I asked her some questions. I tried to keep my voice steady. I asked her his name. I asked if he had ever told her to do anything bad to hurt herself or to hurt me. And I asked if she had ever been scared of him. She answered everything without hesitation. She said his name was Wittig. Wittig. I wrote it down. I looked at it for a while, then I looked it up. It is an ancient Germanic name. Medieval, the kind of name you find in old manuscripts and historical records, not in playgrounds or school registers. Not in any book she has ever read or show she has ever watched. Not in our family. I am German. I know names, I know our family history. No one has ever had that name. No one near us has that name. She has never, not once in her 8 years of life, been exposed to that name in any context I can account for. She did not make that up. Children do not randomly generate names from dead languages. I asked her to tell me how they met. She told me. She said it was a few hours after I put her to bed one night, weeks after we moved in. She was having trouble sleeping. She noticed something outside her window. She got up to look and it was there, near the trees, just standing, looking at her room. She watched it. And then it started moving toward the window, slowly. Getting closer and closer until it was right there on the other side of the glass, looking in at her. And it looked, she said, very sad, very upset, like something was wrong. And my daughter, being exactly who she is, got a piece of paper. She wrote a small note. She pressed it against the window. "Are you okay?" It shook its head no. She managed to crack the window open a little and she asked why it was sad. It told her it was scared of the dark, that it had no one to play with. And Lyanna offered to play with him. He said he would like that very much. But first, before he could come in, she had to invite him inside. Those were his words. She had to invite him. He could not come in without being invited. I need you to sit with that detail. Because it is the detail that keeps rising to the surface no matter how many times I try to push it back down. Of all the things an 8-year-old girl could invent for an imaginary friend, she invented an entity that cannot cross the threshold of a home without a spoken invitation. That is not something she learned from cartoons. That is something out of folklore so old most people have forgotten why the rule exists. She said the words, she invited him in, and he smiled and he pushed the window open and he crawled through it on all fours, she cried. She was scared when she saw him move that way, she said, and he comforted her. And then he did a magic trick. He made all the lights in her room turn on just like that so she could see he was not scary. After that, they were friends. He came at night after I put her to bed. He played with her toys, he took her outside. He showed her the stars, he showed her the moons, plural. In her drawing she had drawn multiple moons. I asked her about that and she smiled like it was obvious and said that where they went sometimes had more than one. And there was the game. She told me they had a special game. When I asked what it was called, she said it was called Hidden. And when I asked her to explain it to me, she got very serious, the way kids do when something matters to them, and she said it was a secret game. That I was not allowed to know about it. That if I found out, it would not be a secret anymore. I want every parent reading this to hear that clearly. Another presence in my child's life had created a secret between them that she was not allowed to share with me. That is the rule I taught her from the time she could understand words. No secrets from Papa, no exceptions. Any adult, any person, anything that tells you to keep a secret from me is not safe. Full stop. And this thing had gotten inside our home, made itself her best friend, earned her complete love and trust, and then embedded a secret inside that trust like a hook. A game only they played, a place only they went, something Daddy could never know. I started moving her into my room that night. I told her there had been some burglaries nearby and I wanted her close. She believed me, and then the scratches appeared. I woke up one morning and my arms were marked with deep scratches I had no memory of making. I have never done that in my sleep, not once in my life. And with the scratches came headaches, severe ones, sudden, the kind that stop you mid-sentence. I had no history of headaches like these. They appeared from nowhere the same week. I started having strange problems even writing my posts about this online. Numbers appearing randomly in the middle of sentences. Text scrambling. I kept having to rewrite things. I started wondering if I was losing my mind, and then I started wondering if something wanted me to think I was. I reached out to everyone I could find, other parents, people online. A medium who was recommended to me through someone I trusted. The medium told me what the scratches had already made me suspect, that what had been visiting my daughter was not a child's companion, that it was something older and much less kind. Something that, in the folklore of this part of Germany, has always been associated with children disappearing, with things that play games. With things that smile and make lights turn on and earn a child's trust in the dark, and then one night are just gone. And the child with them. I know the old stories, I grew up with them. The German forest has a very specific kind of darkness in its folklore, and it is not decorative. Those stories existed because the warnings came first. because something in those woods over many generations made those warnings necessary. And now it had been sleeping in my daughter's room for months. I did not leave Lyanna's side for days. She was supposed to go to my parents on Monday, but something came up, a delay, and she stayed those extra days, and I did not sleep. And the headaches pressed behind my eyes every morning, and I watched her eat and laugh and ask to watch cartoons, and I thought about that thing crawling through her window on all fours while I slept 30 feet away. She left on Thursday. I collapsed the moment the car was out of sight. I had been running on 40 minutes of sleep a night and pure adrenaline, and there was nothing left. I had a Catholic priest coming the next day to cleanse the house. I had sage. I had a rose quartz crystal I was told to place outside her window. I was doing everything, every tradition, every method I had been pointed toward, not because I believed equally in all of it, but because I would try everything before I let that thing near her again. I set up a camera in her room, just in case the cleansing did not work, just in case it came back. I posted all of this. I documented everything. And then I went quiet, no update about whether the priest came. No update about whether the scratches stopped. No update about whether I ever heard anything in the house again, or whether the window in Lyanna's room ever rattled at night, or whether she ever stopped asking about Wittig. That was 2021. There has been nothing since. Lyanna would be 11 or 12 now. Old enough to have moved past imaginary friends, probably. Old enough that the things that feel enormous at 8 start to get soft around the edges, replaced by school and friends and the ordinary texture of growing up. Maybe she has forgotten him entirely. Or maybe she still knows the words to invite him in. I do not know, I cannot know. The story just stops the way the worst stories always do, not with an answer but with a silence you cannot explain and cannot stop thinking about. I am still thinking about it, and now so are you. There is no resolution here. There is a father who did everything right eventually, who paid attention, who listened, who acted, who got the priest and the sage and the camera and sent his daughter somewhere safe, and then stopped talking. What does that silence mean to you? Because it could mean he solved it. That the house was cleansed, the thing left, Lyanna came home, and life moved forward quietly the way life does after something you never want to explain to anyone. I told myself it was over. The priest blessed the house. The sage walked through every room, burning herbs and whispering prayers I could barely understand. I packed Lyanna's things and we stayed with my sister for a while just to be safe. After that, the house felt different. Quiet again, the kind of quiet a home is supposed to have. When Lyanna finally came back, she seemed lighter. She laughed again. She slept through the night. There were no more whispers and no more conversations with the empty corner of her room. She never mentioned him again, and I never asked. Maybe that was my mistake. When you spend weeks hearing your daughter talk to something you cannot see, you learn very quickly that some answers are better left alone. So I stopped checking the cameras. I stopped watching the recordings. I stopped trying to prove that anything had ever been there. I just wanted my daughter back, and for a while that is exactly what I got. Life slowly returned to normal. School mornings, homework spread across the kitchen table, and cartoons playing too loudly in the living room. The ordinary things you only appreciate after you almost lose them. Years passed. Lyanna is older now. Sometimes I convince myself that the whole thing was just a strange chapter in our lives, something that ended the night the priest finished the final prayer, something that left with the smoke from the sage. That is what I believed. Until last week, while cleaning the garage, I found the old box with the bedroom camera inside. The same camera that used to watch Lyanna while she slept. I should not have opened it, and I definitely should not have checked the memory card. But curiosity has a way of dragging you back into things you thought were buried. There was only one video file on the card. A recording from the very last night before we left the house. I do not remember saving it, and I do not remember ever watching it, but when I played the video, I saw Lyanna sitting on her bed. Alone. She was talking to the corner of the room again, and the worst part was not that she was talking. It was what she said. She slowly turned her head and looked straight at the camera, then she smiled. In a quiet voice she said, "Don't worry, he says he can wait." I turned the video off immediately. I told myself it did not mean anything, just an old clip, just a child saying strange things. But there is one detail I cannot explain. That video was recorded 3 days ago, and what happened next was unbelievable.
Subscribe and drop a comment for part 2. Your support truly means a lot. Please encourage me to keep posting these videos regularly. Your appreciation keeps me motivated to continue sharing these stories.